as a part of that, there were a few questions sort of about career arc. Jamie asked last week, which we didn't get to, said, can you talk business a bit? How'd the money start? How's it going? When did you start charging for real? Somebody also asked, how do you set your mixing or production rates? I mean, I could talk about that in a lot of different ways. Do you have any initial thoughts on that? I can kind of go on that because there's a lot, production's also different than mixing. There's different.
Yeah. Why don't you go?
As I imagine you have, I've done things for whatever my quote unquote full major label rate is, which is a lot more than I get for most projects. There's a lot of projects I've done for little or no money. That sort of thing, it's hard to say. One thing that certainly helps when you get to a certain point is getting a go-between, like a manager or an attorney, to do negotiations for you, so you don't have to be excited with an artist and then be like, by the way, can you pay me X amount of money? Because you want to just be having creative conversations. So when you can get to the point where you have a representative do that for you, again, an attorney or a manager, that's super, super helpful. It also just legitimizes what you do in the eyes of other business people, because most artists and people that will be paying you, or labels or whatever, have people who represent them. I think the answer is you just got to go through that uncomfortable transition of starting to charge things, and some people won't be able to afford it. I mean, I'm actually in between management right now. I'm about to sign with a new manager, but I had a money conversation for the first time in a while, like a week ago, and somebody said, "What's your rate?" And I said, "It's this," and they were like, "Okay, we can work with that." And I was expecting them to say, "Oh, easy," or I don't know, it's way too much money, because it was a sort of an indie project, and it's a hard thing that I think there's very few people that are both creatives and business people who are able to do both. So ultimately, you want to get someone to represent you. Oftentimes early in your career, it's someone who is just like your buddy who doesn't really know what they're doing, and sometimes that can get you into trouble. As a mixer, I imagine you have basically a particular rate. When I'm doing mixing, it's like I have a rate per song with a royalty, but I'll do a discount if it's a bunch of songs, depending on the project. If it's last minute and they say we only have this much money, it's depending on if I have time and I want to do it, if I like the artist. I mean, is the annoying answer of it depends.
No, that's true. Let me jump in there on that. Please. Because I got rid of the indie rate thing. So I have one rate. I have a rate that I require per song, pays my assistant, pays my studio cost for the day, pays my management fees, lawyer, all the things, and what I need to stay afloat. Now, that's negotiable based on certain considerations. Okay, one of those considerations is, are you an independent artist? Are you self-funding this? Are you an independent artist that tours 10,000 cap rooms? Then you're, as an independent artist, and you can afford my mix rate. That consideration is not for you, right? Major label rate versus indie rate doesn't seem to exist anymore in my brain,
and it's continuing to go away too.
Yes, and I work with plenty of independent artists that are more successful than a lot of major label artists that I work with. So that had to go away. But if you're self-funding, you found me because I worked on a song that you love, and you reach out, my manager and I discuss what that means. Is the royalty on the back end higher? Are we not as busy this week as last week, like you said? I mean, it's a time factor too, and it's a passion. If I don't like what you do and you're asking me to hook you up, I'm probably going to say no to the hookup. I might even say no for the full rate too, because I see this as a losing battle, right? I don't see us being aligned. So rate has to comes in all shapes and sizes, is what I meant to say. But I do have a rate. I negotiate on that rate above, like you said, a certain amount of songs. I'm actually at like album negotiation, so 10 plus. I'll negotiate anything up to that. Everyone's looking for a hookup. I don't know if we talked about it last week, but I think I talked about it on one of my podcasts that will come out at some point. But someone asked me for $1,000 off, like a $20,000+ project. I was like, 1,000? Like, ask for 5. Like, ask for something that's reasonable. It's like everyone's trying to nickel and dime all over just to see if you'll cave on that.
Yeah.
And I think we have to, as at a certain level of our career, not saying in the beginning if someone's asking to hook up for something like it's a, $5,000 budget and they're asking you to do it for 4. That's different. It's a different percentage decrease than what that meant to me. And it's just, it felt hilarious. It felt like, dude, you're Sony Music. I know you have this. Like, so I just said no. So just no, I'm going to push back on things like that. So you have to pick and choose where you want to negotiate and how you're going to negotiate with what types of people. Is this someone, it's a long-standing client? Have they been with you for 5+ years and they really need to hook up on this project because this is self-funded, but the producer who's hiring you or the manager that's hiring you has been working with you on major label projects or very high-profile projects for so much longer? Is this a true favor? Like, is this a loyal clientele? Like, there's so many things to weigh. But I think everyone should come up with their rate. What is their rate? What is their time? And not the time that they're spending on this particular project, but the time they've spent, the amount of years up till this point that have gotten them there to be able to give the client what they desire and in a reasonable amount of time and to hit a deadline or whatever that takes, right? I think if you can feel free to ask for a rush rate. You need something in 24 hours? Okay, I can do that for you because I have the time this week, but it's going to cost you X on top of this.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of ways, but you should come up with a firm, this is what I need for my time for this record. And then be negotiable plus or minus based on certain factors.